The basement smelled like stale beer and teenage desperation. Sebastian's parents were out of town again, some pharmaceutical conference in Denver, which meant his house had become the default hangout for our entire friend group. But by 2 a.m., everyone else had either passed out upstairs or gone home, leaving just the two of us sprawled across the sectional couch, controllers abandoned on the coffee table. Some Netflix show neither of us was watching flickering in the background. "I'm so damn tired of pretending," Sebastian said suddenly, his voice cutting through the drone of the television. I turned to look at him. His dark hair was a mess, falling into his eyes the way it always did when he needed a haircut. He was staring at the ceiling, jaw clenched, that little muscle in his cheek twitching the way it did when he was anxious. "Pretending what?" I asked, even though something in my chest already knew. Something that had been coiling tighter and tighter for months. "You know what?" His eyes slid toward me, intense and dark. "Don't make me say it." My heart was hammering. "Seb, I see the way you look at me," he interrupted. "In the locker room. When you think no one's watching. I see it because I'm doing the same damning thing." The air between us felt electric, charged with everything we'd never said. We'd been best friends since freshman year, inseparable, the kind of close that made people joke about us being attached at the hip. I'd spent 3 years convincing myself that the feelings were one-sided, that the lingering glances and the way my pulse raced when he touched my shoulder were my problem alone. "This is crazy," I whispered. "Probably." He sat up, turning to face me fully. "But I can't stop thinking about you. About this." His hand reached out, fingers brushing against my knee, and even through my jeans, I felt like I'd been electrocuted. "We're both straight," I said, but the words sounded hollow even to my own ears. Sebastian laughed, sharp and bitter. "Are we? Because I haven't been able to get it up for a girl in 6 months. Haven't even wanted to try. And I know for a fact that things ended with you and Jasmine because you couldn't stop thinking about someone else." He was right. God, he was right. Jasmine had broken up with me in April, crying, saying she could tell my heart wasn't in it anymore. I'd felt terrible but also relieved because pretending was exhausting, and I'd been pretending for so long I'd almost forgotten what genuine desire felt like. Until now. Until Sebastian was looking at me like I was the only person in the world. Until his hand was sliding higher on my thigh. Until every nerve ending in my body was screaming at me to close the distance between us. "I don't know how to do this," I admitted. "Neither do I." His voice was rough. "But I need to try. I need to know." When he kissed me, it wasn't tentative or questioning. It was desperate, hungry, 3 years of repression and denial exploding between us. His lips were softer than I'd imagined, and I'd imagined this more times than I could count, but also more demanding. His hand came up to cup the back of my neck, fingers tangling in my hair, and I melted into him. I'd kissed people before. Girls at parties in dark corners in the backs of cars. But nothing had ever felt like this. Nothing had ever felt like my entire body was waking up for the first time, like every kiss before had been practice for this moment. Sebastian pulled back just enough to look at me, his breathing ragged. "Okay. Yeah," I managed. "More than okay." He smiled then, that crooked smile that had always made my stomach flip, and something in his expression shifted. Became darker, more intent. "Good. Because I want to do something, and I need you to tell me if it's too much." "What do you?" But he was already moving, pushing me back against the couch cushions, his body sliding down mine. His hands went to my belt, and my brain short-circuited. "Seb, what are you?" "No homo," he said, and then laughed at the absurdity of it, at the ridiculousness of that phrase in this context. "Damn, that's stupid. I'm so homo right now. So damning homo for you." His fingers were fumbling with my zipper, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but watch as he undid my jeans and started pulling them down. The cool air hit my skin, and then his hands were on me, and I had to bite my lip to keep from making a sound. "Tell me if you want me to stop," he said, looking up at me through his lashes. I shook my head frantically. "Don't stop. Please don't stop." What happened next rewired something fundamental in my brain. Sebastian's mouth on me was everything I'd never let myself fantasize about, everything I'd pushed down and denied and tried to ignore. He was enthusiastic but inexperienced, and somehow that made it even hotter. The knowledge that he was doing this for the first time, that he wanted it badly enough to figure it out as he went. I threaded my fingers through his hair, not directing, just needing to touch him, to ground myself in the reality of this moment. His tongue was doing things that made my vision blur, and when he looked up at me, eyes dark and pupils blown wide, I nearly came apart right then. "You taste so good," he murmured against my skin. "Better than I imagined." "You imagine this?" All the damning time. He went back to what he was doing, and I had to focus on not falling apart too quickly, on making this last, because I didn't know if it would ever happen again, if this was a one-time thing born from loneliness and beer and proximity. But the way Sebastian was touching me, the sounds he was making, small, satisfied hums that vibrated through me, suggested this was more than experimentation. This was want raw and undeniable. When I finally did come, it hit me like a freight train, pleasure rolling through me in waves that seemed to last forever. Sebastian stayed with me through all of it, and when he finally pulled back, he was grinning like he'd just won something. "Holy shit," I breathed. "Yeah." He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, and that gesture alone was enough to make heat pool in my stomach again. That was yeah. We stared at each other for a long moment, the weight of what we'd just done settling over us. I waited for the panic, the regret, the rush of shame that was supposed to come after something like this. It never arrived. Instead, I reached for him, pulling him up and into another kiss. He tasted different now, tasted like me and like want and like everything I'd been denying myself. His body pressed against mine, and I could feel how turned on he was, could feel him hard against my hip. "Your turn," I whispered against his mouth. "You don't have to." "I want to." And I did. God, I wanted to touch him, taste him, make him feel the way he just made me feel. "Show me what you like." Sebastian's breath hitched. "I don't know. I've never, with anyone. Guy or girl." That admission made something possessive unfurl in my chest. I was his first. Whatever this was, wherever it led, I was his first. I pushed him back against the other end of the couch, mirroring what he'd done to me, and started undoing his belt. My hands were shaking, from nervousness or anticipation. I couldn't tell, but Sebastian's hands covered mine, steadying them. "We can stop," he said softly. "If this is too much." I met his eyes. "Do you want to stop?" "Damn no." "Then neither do I." I'd never done this before. Never even considered it. Never let myself think about it in concrete terms. But now, with Sebastian spread out before me, vulnerable and trusting and so obviously desperate, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. I started tentatively, paying attention to his reactions, to the way his breathing changed and his fingers gripped the couch cushions. He tasted different than I expected, cleaner, sharper, and the weight of him on my tongue felt strange and right at the same time. "Damn," Sebastian breathed. "Oh damn, that's your mouth is." His words dissolved into incoherent sounds, and I took that as encouragement, getting bolder, more confident. His hips started moving, small, unconscious thrusts, and I let him, wanting him to take what he needed. When he came, he said my name. Not a moan or a grunt, but my actual name, broken and reverent, like a prayer. And something in me cracked wide open at the sound of it. Afterward, we lay tangled together on the couch, the TV still playing its endless stream of content, neither of us willing to move or speak or acknowledge what had just happened. Sebastian's fingers were tracing patterns on my chest, random swirls and lines that might have meant something or might have meant nothing. "So," he finally said, "that happened." "Yeah. And it was really damning good," I finished. He laughed, the sound shaky with relief. "Okay. Good. Because I was thinking, maybe we could do it again sometime. If you wanted." I turned to look at him. "Sometime as in? Tomorrow? Tonight? Right now?" His hand slid down my stomach. "I'm not picky about the timeline. We should probably talk about this," I said, even as my body was responding to his touch. "About what it means. It means I'm into you. It means I've been for a while, and I'm tired of pretending I'm not." Sebastian propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at me. "It means I want to see where this goes if you do." "What about everyone else? School, the team, our friends? We'll figure it out." His hand cupped my face. "But right now, in this moment, I just want to be with you. No labels, no explanations, just us." I kissed him again, slower this time, deeper. Yeah, I whispered against his lips. Just us. We stayed on that couch until the sun started creeping through the basement windows, kissing and touching and exploring this new territory between us. Every revelation, the spot behind Sebastian's ear that made him gasp, the way he liked his neck kissed, the desperate sounds he made when I bit down gently on his shoulder, felt like uncovering treasure. By the time we heard movement upstairs, one of our friends waking up, stumbling toward the bathroom, we'd somehow ended up wearing only our boxers, legs tangled together, Sebastian's head on my chest. We should get dressed, he murmured, but neither of us moved. Probably. They're going to know something's different. Let them. I ran my fingers through his hair. I don't care anymore. I'm tired of hiding. Sebastian lifted his head to look at me, something like wonder in his expression. Really? Really? And I meant it. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe, like I wasn't suffocating under the weight of everyone's expectations. Whatever happens, we'll deal with it together. He kissed me again, soft and sweet, nothing like the desperate hunger from earlier, but no less intense for it. Together, he agreed. The floorboards creaked overhead, and we finally forced ourselves to separate, pulling on jeans and t-shirts, trying to arrange ourselves into something that looked innocent. But when our friend Charlie came down the stairs 20 minutes later, he took one look at us, at Sebastian's swollen lips and my messed up hair and the way we couldn't stop looking at each other, and just smirked. About damning time, was all he said before heading toward the bathroom. Sebastian and I exchanged glances and burst out laughing. Maybe this wouldn't be as hard as we'd thought. Maybe the world was ready for this, for us. Or maybe it wasn't, and we'd face backlash and judgment and all the things that came with being different in a small town. But sitting there on that couch, Sebastian's hand finding mine under the blanket we'd pulled over our laps, I realized I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I felt real. I felt seen. And I felt wanted for who I actually was, not who I was pretending to be. No homo, Sebastian whispered, squeezing my hand, and we both laughed at the absurdity of it all. So damn homo, I whispered back and kissed him again, not caring who saw, not caring about anything except this moment and this person and this feeling of finally coming home to myself. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. And that was enough.